Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in and checking out my latest video. And inspired by his performance against Glover Teixeira, I decided to make my top 3 best fights so far in the career of Jon Jones, in my opinion. So I hope you guys enjoy it. So the number 3 fight I want to speak to you guys about is a fight between him and Lyoto Machida. So going into this fight, Lyoto Machida is a guy, very elusive striker, excellent counter puncher, and just a good overall stand-up fighter as well. So in this fight, I was most impressed with Jon Jones' ability to stay patient throughout the fight. He didn't become overly aggressive so Lyoto Machida could counter him. And when Lyoto Machida was the aggressor in this fight, Jon Jones ended up backing away and blocking a lot of Lyoto Machida's strikes. So he did an excellent job in that regards in this matchup. And eventually he actually ends up finishing Lyoto Machida. In the second round of their fight, he ends up getting Machida up against the cage and puts him in a standing guillotine choke. Lyoto Machida goes limp and the referee steps in. And the next matchup I want to speak to you guys about is going to be between Shogun and Jon Jones. So coming into this fight, Shogun was a guy who had a ton of momentum after defeating Lyoto Machida via knockout. And he is the champion of 205 pounds at this point when these two meet up. Shogun also is a veteran of the game. Very, very tough fighter with a ton of skills. Good Muay Thai. He's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Devastating puncher. I mean, this guy really has a lot of great skills. Very tough guy. Jon Jones is not phased at all in this matchup and shows some excellent composure as a young fighter coming in against a legend and veteran of the sport and putting on a dominating performance. In his fight against Shogun, Jon Jones backs up Shogun against the cage multiple times, uses his wrestling to keep Shogun off guard, and ends up actually finishing Shogun, I believe in the third round, where he drops him with a body shot, and shortly after, the referee ends up stepping in and calling off the fight. And Jon Jones is a new champion at a very young age. So that was really outstanding because Shogun, and most of you who are familiar with his career know he can take an extreme amount of punishment. You see that in the Dan Henderson matchup. If you've never seen that fight, that's a must-watch, all-time classic and one of the best fights in UFC history. So Jon Jones beats an MMA legend, becomes a champion, and just adds another excellent name to his resume at 205 in that matchup. The first fight I want to speak to you about, and the best performance in my opinion in Jon Jones' career, was his most recent fight against Glover Teixeira. So in his fight with Glover Teixeira, I saw a guy who used all his arsenal of techniques. Jon Jones was using his jab. He was using some elbows, using some kicks, even threw an axe kick at one point in the fight. He also, throughout the fight, just dominated Glover Teixeira, who was an excellent stand-up fighter. And coming into this matchup, I thought that Jon Jones was going to have to use a lot more of his wrestling to win that type of a fight against Glover Teixeira, but his stand-up looked outstanding throughout the fight. He even got hit early on a couple times to show you that he does have a chin as well. And Jon Jones does an excellent job of finding his range and then attacking his opponent with it. And he really understands distance as well, because at times you see some fighters with big reach, such as Stefan Struve and Jessamyn Duke, but they don't know how to use that and fight with their proper range for the height they are. And they don't use it to their advantage. So a lot of people say about Jon Jones, well, he's very impressive because he has these great physical attributes, but he knows how to use them as well. So you have to give him some credit in that regards. And after completely dominating Glover Teixeira throughout the fight and winning pretty well every round of the fight, in my opinion, in the 5th round, Jon Jones really started to just have a bit of fun. He was mimicking former boxing legends as Roy Jones and George Foreman, landing some vicious body blows in the 5th round up against the cage, and dominating performance throughout. He didn't even respect Glover Teixeira in the last round. I mean, really, he was just there to put on a bit of a show. And outstanding performance against a guy in Glover Teixeira who is a tough fighter. And to defeat him the way he did, and predominantly standing up with him the whole fight, goes to show you his game is only improving. And in my opinion, that version of Jon Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson in a rematch, I think that version of Jon Jones beats him. And I'm a big fan of Alexander Gustafsson, but I just got to tell you guys how it is. And what's next for Jon Jones? So it sounds like Jon Jones is going to be getting a fight His rematch against Alexander Gustafsson, possibly in Sweden. Dana White thinks it's going to be a massive sell there, so you have to look out for that. And if that doesn't materialize, maybe a fight between Daniel Cormier. But I definitely, as a fan, I want to see the matchup between Gustafsson and Jon Jones. The first fight was very, very controversial, so I want to see another one. And overall, Jon Jones, to be honest, guys, he could go down as one of the best in the history of the sport. Listen to some of the names he already has on his resume at 205. Alexander Gustafsson, Richard Evans, Chael Sonnen, Lyoto Machida, Shogun, Stephan Bonner. I mean, outstanding. Glover Teixeira is the latest victim. So these are all high-level fighters, and Jon Jones has already beat them. What is he, age 26? And he already has a ton of title defenses, so outstanding fighter Jon Jones is. And I'm looking forward to see him in some matchups down the road. And he possibly might even move up to heavyweight later in his career, so be on the lookout for this guy. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give me your take on some of Jon Jones' best fights in your opinion and what you want to see next. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning into the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.